Okay. Let me see how to do this. Turn this off. Oh. Tanya, you want to ask folks in the corridor to come on in so we can get started? It's 9 o'clock. Okay. Good. Oh. Okay. All right. Okay, in the back, y'all cutting up too much. How you doing, Mr. Parisi? Good to see you. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I'm imagining there are lots of folks in virtual land who have tuned in, but I really want to thank everyone who's here bright and early this morning. I know y'all must have been partying at Cafe Ohm for the DU XU homecoming kickoff. But thank you all for coming today. Thank you for coming here this week to celebrate homecoming, particularly this year, Dillard's 155th year. My name is Monique Guillory. I probably have not had the opportunity to meet all of you individually, but I have been really honored and really proud to have been called to serve as the interim president at Dillard University since July 1st. Most of you already know the whole story. I came initially as the provost on April 1st, and then in about 6 short weeks, I was asked to serve as the acting president, and then ultimately as the interim president. And I've just been very humbled, honestly, and honored by this call to serve. As far as I know, and no one's corrected me yet, I'm the first native New Orleanian to serve as the president of Dillard, and that's something I really cherish, that I kind of grew up in the shadows of this wonderful, beautiful campus and its illustrious graduates and faculty. No, I am not related to Barbara Guillory. I knew her, and we compared notes one day about who her people were and who my people were. And ultimately, all Guillorys are related, particularly the ones from Southwest Louisiana, and even the ones in California are related to us. But we did not find any common branches on our family trees. So that is often a question I'm asked. Speaking of questions, all of you should have received a 20-page tome where I had promised that I would answer the questions that you all had put in the chat and in the Q&A from the town hall from this summer. And I wanted to make sure I got you those answers, particularly for homecoming. And one of the things that I've promised everyone, just because I don't know any better, is that I am very transparent. You know, I don't know how to be any other way. So that might have been really TMI, but everything I put in those answers is precisely where we are and where I think we need to go. And I was writing those answers before the start of this week. And I would probably adjust some of my answers given what I know now about where we are as a country where we are as a government, okay? And what I think needs to happen in education, not just higher education, but in education moving forward. And I think particularly for HBCUs, but honestly for all of us, we need to be really thinking about what does it mean to be educated today, okay? And this can be a very philosophical, intellectual question, but certainly sitting on a college campus, it's something that we have to wrestle with. What do our students really need to know? One of the things that occurred to me as I watched the election results come in is excellence is not enough, okay? We love to talk about Black excellence at HBCUs, and when we see people who have achieved the pinnacle of excellence, and it does not matter, what does that mean? What do we need to do differently as an educational institution? So these are some of the questions that I'm wrestling with as I think about the future of Dillard and the young people who are entrusted to us to help with their development, to help prepare them for a very unknown future. And so that's what I'm going to talk about in this presentation today. I think we really are poised for a number of reasons for a kind of new revitalization of the institution. We've made some tough calls in the past year that will better prepare us for success. But in the midst of this, we also have to recognize that there are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of things that are going to happen and that are going to come our way that we simply cannot prepare for. So how do we be prepared to pivot? And part of this, it's the unknowns, but it's also the things that we do know. We know that our workforce is tired and fatigued and probably, a bit demoralized. Our students want something very different than what you all probably experienced during your years at Dillard. So what does that mean as Dillard tries to evolve? We can't just, pivot and change and accommodate all the things that our students want, but we have to hear them. We have to listen to what they're asking us for. Right now, I'm actually in a bit of a tug-of-war with the SGA because they asked me to cancel classes on election day. No, can't do that, right? Life doesn't stop because you have to go vote. This is lesson one in adulting. It's your responsibility to figure out how you're going to vote, and you will still have to go to work. They might let you have an hour or two when you can go vote, but it's not a holiday, right? And then as the results came in and we were all dealing with, kind of some dashed hopes, they asked again, can we cancel classes the day after the election? And so again, it's like, no, we're not doing that. It's like, well, we need a mental health day. But coronation was that night. So it's like, if I cancel classes, we're going to cancel coronation too. We want to do that? No. So, not canceling classes. So we're meeting with them next week and to talk to the students about, this is democracy at work. Your candidate won't always win, and it's almost the beauty of it, and that you got to live with it, you got to deal with disappointment, and that is not, in fact, I would have loved to have called a kind of emergency convocation to bring everybody to talk about what had happened. And so we will get to that next week. But, so in this presentation, I'm going to provide some updates. You all saw the presentation during the town hall this summer. These are some kind of things that have happened since then. We're going to ask our new CFO, Mr. Ed Patrick, to go over our framework for budget and finances, and then next steps. So hopefully, you all can appreciate some of the beautification efforts that have been made on campus. One of the first things I wanted to do was to really optimize the beauty of this space. This is really one of the iconic spaces in New Orleans, and I really am going to be dedicated to beautifying and investing in our campus infrastructure, our grounds. My stepmother is one of those people who will go places just because their gardens are so beautiful, and that's what I want Dillard to be ultimately. We have actually partnered with Elvin Ross Studios. We're going to have an announcement that comes out about that. Elvin Ross is the film producer who's worked closely with Tyler Perry, and he's acquired the old Jazzland property and is building a studio out there. So the lighting that we had for election night was courtesy of Elvin Ross Studios. And this was part of the launch of our partnership. They're going to help us with really enhancing our film and theater program. That is one of the areas that we know academically there's a lot of interest. But you know, just the beautification of the campus, the grounds, the landscaping, we'll continue making those investments. I want to also give a quick update on the strategic plan. This was the strategic plan that Dr. Ford had conceptualized and that basically I inherited. And you know, we do, basically by our accreditation requirements, we are required to have a viable strategic plan that we use for the institution. Now, we will be updating that strategic plan, and I just want to give you an indication of where we are with the implementation of some of these objectives. Obviously, anything with a red, we've really not made any progress on. Yellow, you know, some, and then green, we're well on our way. So again, solidifying a strategic marketing strategy. We are so cognizant that we really need to market Dillard better. Absolutely, huge priority. We need to tell our own story. But we have not been able to make a whole lot of progress there because we are down to about 2 folks. Malachi is one in the Office of Communication, and Jacob is here too. Our photographer, our videographer, they're holding it together, but that is the staff we have right now in comms. And we've got to rebuild that area. So that's got a big red light. We do have a director of comms position posted, so hopefully we can hire that leadership. Pillar 2, teacher education program. Again, an area I would love to see us invest in at Dillard. I mean, we started with Straight College, which prepared teachers, and teacher preparation is so important for this region. But you know, that was one of the questions that came up. What happened to the teacher preparation program? Well, it closed along with a number of other teacher education programs throughout the country, particularly at private institutions. You've really got to follow the logic model about becoming a teacher. You know that you are destined to not earn a whole lot of money. It is a vocation, it is a calling. And so most of the teacher preparation programs that have remained viable have been at state institutions where the tuition is cheaper, honestly. And so we would have to be really innovative and thoughtful, and I've been talking to UNCF about this. I would love for us to get back in the teacher preparation business, but we have to make it make sense for our students. And again, going back to that initial question about what does it mean to be educated. So all of this fits together. Approved Masters in Mental Health Counseling. This proposal is developed, this curriculum is developed. As you know, we have offered our first master's program in nursing, which makes a whole lot of sense because Dillard's always been known for its excellence in nursing. This program is all teed up, the Masters in Counseling. We actually have funding from Congressman Troy Carter. We have to just wait to get it approved by our accreditors because they have to fully approve our first master's program. We expect that that's going to happen, and then we can submit other graduate programs for approval by our accreditors. So we're kind of on our way with that one. And then create pathways for careers through certification. Again, yellow, we actually have been offering online certification programs through a third-party vendor, Ed2Go. But we haven't, again, it goes back to that marketing question. We haven't promoted it well enough, and we have to look at the cost comparison with other certification programs to make sure we are competitive and that this is a you know, kind of cost-benefit analysis of whether it's worth the investment ultimately to maintain this partnership with this third-party vendor that we're currently using. Grant funding to improve the student experience. We're absolutely on our way with that. One of the things I'm always going to talk about is improving the student experience. There's actually a lot of research out there about higher education right now. Students who are going to college, because fewer students are going to college, but students who are going to college for the experience. They're not actually going for the education. Their parents want them to go for the education. The students want to go for the experience. They want to go to the step shows. They want to pledge. They want to hang out. They want to go to the football games. You know, and you see all of this if you keep up with the social media posts and whatnot. All students are going to college for a certain type of experience. When you look at just what students have done to their dorm rooms, okay? And that's something we're actually trying to manage, because we fine students for putting up wallpaper and things like that. And you know, they want to trick out their dorm rooms like they're actually apartments, but they see all this stuff on social media. So we've got to really balance what does it mean for students who come here for the experience. The other thing that we're very committed to is holistic student development, really providing the supports, the wraparound supports for students to ensure their wellness, their mental health, and have them actually be mindful of this. I mean, when students ask me for a day off from classes for their mental health, I'm like, you know, it's deeper than that. You know, if you need a mental health day, by all means, do that. But I can't just holistically cancel classes for that. So having students be more thoughtful about what it will actually take to protect their mental health. And we're doing that work. The establishment of the one-stop shop, this was something that got discontinued once we had to perform the RIF. And so when we were doing the reduction in force, we obviously did not want to then start another initiative that was going to require questions around staffing and additional supports. So that's something we're going to have to think about. The idea of the one-stop shop, again, the idea of facilitating, processes and operations for students is still very important, but we won't necessarily stand up a whole new shop just to address that. The campus master plan, that's a yellow, because obviously we're still adhering to a campus master plan, but there are some adjustments that we're making. We'll report on the new residence hall that is well on its way, thanks to Marion Bracey and his leadership when he was here. But we're making some adjustments to the campus master plan. Creating data governance and data dashboards, very important, moving forward with that. Making sure our systems are speaking to one another and we have a data like dictionary so that we all understand and use the same types of data integration. 30% 20 by 30 carbon neutrality plan. So thanks to the EPA, we seem to be well on our way to realizing this. I mean, Dillard is already becoming very well known in the clean energy, green efforts, largely thanks to the EPA grant that we've secured and Ms. Kim Torres, who is our Director of Sustainability here. So we have a call today actually with EPA, and I have some concerns. This was a $20 million grant over the next 3 years. It's a community change grant that's meant to foster more awareness about clean energy and green strategies for the Gentilly and Greater New Orleans areas. Part of my concern is that in the next administration, we may not be able to actually recover all of that funding. So we are going to be talking to the EPA today about what their forecast is for how likely is it for us to really acquire those funds. And then finally, cash reserves, increase unrestricted non-undergraduate tuition revenue, and launching a capital campaign. So for the first two, Ed and I have been talking a lot about what that looks like for us to have better cash flow. And that really is more of a systems issue first, and then looking at, enrollment and bringing in more revenue, bringing in more grants. But we have to really make sure we're bringing in this revenue, that we are managing our resources in such a way that we have some clarity about how things get processed. That was one of your questions about your donations and your contributions and the communication about those things. So those are systems issues. And, as we are trying to build enrollment and bring in new revenue sources and whatnot, our systems really have to be clean and well integrated. So those are some of the things we're working on. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then launching a capital campaign. We have had a feasibility study, but again, putting that on pause, not exclusively my position is interim, but the majority of my cabinet is interim. And that's just not a good environment to launch a capital campaign in. You have to signal that we are a stable institution before we go out and say, now give to Dillard, okay? So that's why that's just on pause for right now. Enrollment update. I just included this. This was something I shared with the Board of Trustees at our board meeting last month. And it's about, affordability and the value of college. And just look at the insights, right? That cost of college is a source of major anxiety. I mean, and this might feed into why fewer students are going to college, right? And the disruption between when you and I went to college and what things are under consideration right now for students and their families today. And I think the most striking one is the insight number 2. For many families, college affordability means no debt, none. Okay? And we saw that this was evolving, that there was a lot of resistance for families to take out loans. And, for us, paying back student loans, that was kind of like a badge of honor of becoming a professional, right? Like, I've got to pay my student loans. I got to pay Sally Mae. It's going to happen. It's like taxes. But students and their families today are very adverse to that. And so recognize this disconnect. It's become more and more expensive for us to run higher education, but our customer base doesn't want to take out loans to pay for it. So how do we make up that difference? It's very difficult, and this is part of the reason why fewer and fewer students and their families are actually making that investment. So we are charged with figuring out how do we assure them that this investment is worthwhile. Because they see what is the number one major, what is the number one career objective? If you ask students on that campus, what do you want to become? What will you hear more often than not? What do you think? Sorry, say it. No, not necessarily. What do you think they think is the path to becoming rich? An influencer. They want to be an influencer, which is a very interesting challenge, again, for an educational institute. We currently do not have a course on influencing. I'm considering it, though. I'm seriously considering it. I mean, I have lots of people from Instagram, TikTok, who really are influencers in this space, okay, who I am kind of teeing up to talk to the students. I would love them to start being influencers for Dillard, so we can start with that. But that is what they are thinking. So this gives you a little bit of a snapshot of the current landscape that we are trying to operate in higher education, which makes this that much more challenging for a small private liberal arts institution like Dillard University. The landscape is vastly different than when you were enrolled here, when I was in college. Vastly different. And it is really causing us to re-examine everything that we have to do. So admissions for fall 2024, we had based a budget on an enrollment of 330 new students, incoming students, and the admissions office was targeting 400, right? And we fell short of both of those. We are down about 14% in our freshman enrollment, and this will have budgetary implications. And this was, again, what we were anticipating. And we knew that this was probably going to happen. Most of you were familiar with what happened with the FAFSA. Students did not get their financial aid packages in a timely way that would signal to them and their families what kind of aid they were going to be able to get from the government. And so this delayed a lot of people. It frustrated a lot of people. It made a lot of families turn to more affordable alternatives than a private institution. So that is part of what we were up against. And honestly, when we were having a lot of staff transitions, we tried not to impact the admissions office, but the whole campus was impacted by the reduction in force. And so changes from some positive things that we can celebrate. We had a 60% increase in the number of transfers. So that was great. And we want to continue that. And, when we looked and we kind of peeled back the onion on this was really just a concerted effort to make that process easier for transfers. Specifically, the analysis of his transcript and telling transfer students exactly how many of their credits would transfer. And that is one of the things I'm really going to be committed to with the admissions office and across the board, making our processes easier for everyone, particularly our students, okay? One thing I talk about all the time, I don't know what it is about us at HBCUs. I have my theories about it, but we almost have this inherent sense that things should be difficult for students. Okay, that like, it almost is, you know, like this kind of like sub-hazing mentality that you have to like pay your dues. When I was at Southern, it was the joke, like if you can survive Southern's registration process, you could graduate. And that's, I mean, you know, and it's comical because we can relate to it. And, you know, but I think it is this ingrained thing. It's like, you know, life is hard. And we want to put you through the paces because you have to be dedicated, you have to be committed. And we're not going to make it easy for you because life is not going to be easy for you, you know. But guess what? Students of today, they are not feeling any of that. And they almost expect you to cater to them directly. So again, they show you with their feet. You make it difficult, bye-bye. I'm taking my money, I'm taking my financial aid, I'm taking my transcript, which you have to give me, and I'm going someplace else. So this is something I'm trying to get everybody to understand. We have to be more thoughtful about customer service. We had an increase in California enrollment from 18 students last year to 24. We went down in Louisiana enrollment, some of our key areas, our key recruiting areas, Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia. We do some of the things we're trying to do to address this. We have a search process underway right now for a new vice president for enrollment management. That is being coordinated by Dr. Toya Barnes-Teamer. Some of you might know her. She worked at Dillard for quite a while, and she's actually now a very highly regarded consultant in the higher ed space. So we're very fortunate to have her leadership over that effort. We have been pivoting to, you might hear people talk about, I'm not going to get in the weeds, but we have a new platform for processing our applications called Element 451. One of the things that I was really disturbed to recognize when I came was that our admissions office was still processing applications manually. They would literally download applications from these digital platforms and have recruiters manually entering student data, which was problematic because there were errors. They wouldn't enter everything because that's a really exhausting, mind-boggling thing to have to do. And I think it really was slowing down our admissions process. Clearly it would be. You know, we get upwards of about 3,000 inquiries. Okay, so we know that the Dillard brand is out there. There are at least 3,000 young people who at least inquire about enrolling at Dillard. So we're not worried about that. It's the yield. So if those 3,000 students actually even start filling out an application and we have a whole manual process, it's taking too much time to get them an answer. And so we're trying to facilitate that and expedite that through digital platforms. We're going to be more deliberate and strategic about high school visits. Alumni support. One of the things that Toya's talked to me about is DUPAN. And alumni, you all have been saying, like, you know, when can we help with recruitment? I didn't even recognize that this was a very well-oiled machine at one time and had been very successful in bringing students to Dillard from across the country. And so Toya is going to help us reinstate that and leverage the reach that we have through you all, you know, nationwide. More college fairs and expos, the collegiate academies, these are kind of like local feeders. And then the total enrollment for this year is 1057, and we're down 5% from last year, okay? And this is just a little, this is just a breakdown of kind of the local high schools, and this is just a little big up for me. You know, when we look at where our biggest clusters of students are from, the highest clusters we have are 5 students from the same high school. One is from the Kenner Discovery School for STEM, and then the other one is St. Mary's Academy, my alma mater. Big up, you know, and so they are going to, you know, and I'm already talking to the principal there, you know, to leverage, particularly our historically black high schools in New Orleans. It's the only thing that makes sense between St. Aug, St. Mary's, Catherine Drexel, leveraging those institutions as feeder patterns for Dillard. And we want to do that because typically our local students will not have a requirement for campus housing. which is in short supply. These are just some of the brochures, the new brochures that we are putting together through Spark 151, which is the marketing component of Element. Element is the admissions platform. Spark is the marketing platform. So you might see these things floating around. Be the one about legacy. And again, these efficiencies, the digital applications, automating that process of admitting the students, process integration, so making sure Element speaks to our Genzabar platform, which is our student information system. All of this is just about processing, better alumni engagement. And now there's actually kind of like a portal that a student can go to find out about the status of their application. I know previously people had reached out to me like, oh, I had a little niece, she applied, she never heard back. So now once we get this up and going, and that's going to take a process, they will be able to go to the portal and find out what the status of their application is. And one of the things I've talked to Dr. Teamer about is I want admissions to be data driven. I want them to set targets and goals about how long will it take for a student to hear back. If you're going to a college fair, how many applications do you expect to get from going to that? So we really can do the cost benefit analysis of all of this time and these resources that are going into our admissions processes. And then this is the retention slide. And so while we saw the dip in the recruitment aspect, our retention is actually looking better. And retention is up this year across all segments. So this top chart is basically showing the stop-outs, who graduated in the senior category, and then who returned, all right? And so this is fall 23 to fall 24. So this is kind of the current snapshot. And you'll see that between those two, you had more students to return in each one of those columns, right? And then on the other chart, the really colorful chart, it's showing that even across academic risk, across all categories of risk, from low academic risk students, our students who were more academically prepared, to the students who were higher academic risk, less academically prepared, all of them had a higher rate of retention. So what does that tell us? That something we're doing here is good. Between our faculty, our university college, the students are returning, And again, the FAFSA issue, it impacted, students across the board, more incoming students, right? First-time freshmen. But, all of our students have to do FAFSA. All of our students rely on financial aid. So we know that something's going well, that students are coming back. Oh, I went the wrong way. Okay, here we go. And then these are some enrollment trends across our academic programs. No surprises here. Undergraduate nursing is one of our strongest programs, followed by biology, criminal justice, business administration. Let's see. It's by the greens, right? The darker green is the most popular ones. We're currently in a process of doing an academic program review. We did about 9 programs last year, and we're completing them this year. And so, we've been trying to prepare our faculty for the understanding that, we had the reduction in force on the staff side. That was all on the staff side. We are going to have to do a similar exercise in academics. So what that probably is going to mean is that there's going to be some convergence of programs, so people who are kind of independent program chairs and whatnot will be folded under other programs. This helps us reduce our administrative costs. And we're looking more closely at our general education requirements. So this revitalization of Dillard has to really happen on the academic side. Students, what we have done with respect to reducing our operational costs in the reduction in force, we have to serve students even better, despite the fact that we have fewer people on campus. Where we're really going to make that distinction, though, is what we do with our academic programs. And it's data and information like this that is going to help to inform those decisions. Okay, so I'll bring Ed up to talk a little bit about the budget. Yeah. Sure. Did you get the questions and answers? Yes. Oh, okay, y'all gonna have more questions. All right. Not 100 though. Don't give me 100 more questions. Okay. All right, sure.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ed Patrick. I'm the new CFO, and it's indeed a privilege to be working here at Dillard University and actually just being in the HBCU environment again. I'm a turnaround guy. So what does that mean? That means that I really look at innovation. I'm not trying to replicate what other institutions are doing. As a matter of fact, HBCUs are positioned in a way that like no other time. So the privilege is actually an advantage. And what does that mean? That means that when you're looking, and when we talk about the enrollment cliff. We talk about that all the time. What is the enrollment cliff? America tends to state that anything related to white America is America. So the enrollment cliff pertains to the white population. The black population is pretty steady, and the Latinx population is actually increasing. So the student of color population, and this goes to the census of 2020, it's increasing, and it's increasing every year. It is currently, I think the census stated that it was 53% students of color that were 18 and under, and every year that is increasing. So we have a distinct advantage. We have an advantage in recruiting our students, retaining our students, but we also have to understand that in this current paradigm that we exist, that they are trying to recruit our students. And not only that, they're trying to recruit our recruiters. So just be mindful of that, and we really have to inject a business model. That is simply all I do. Wherever I go, again, just address certain things. I'm Japanese and black. I'm originally from Chicago. You know, I have a real heart for HBCUs, and I grew up, you know, I mean, heck, we know what South Side of Chicago looks like now. You know, it's real. You know, so when I come to, and then I have a daughter just graduated, and I have a son who's also in college now. So my experiences as a parent, I do see that as well. So I bring that all to the table. It's just not talking about numbers, but, you know, it's talking about the people. Our most valuable asset, and I'm looking at a few people, you know, a few of my staff members, are our people. You know, the bricks and mortar and all that is important, and I'll be talking about that as well in terms of how we're improving our infrastructure. But, you know, currently, what's going on in the industry, and why do we need to be innovative? The industry is turned upside down. We don't have enough students. Colleges and universities are going to go out of business. It's as simple as that. It's too many. Also, from a labor market perspective, we have more jobs than workers. So now we have to really compete to keep our current workers. You know, I walked through the door, and my first week here, I lost 2 staff members. You know, that's the current reality. So what do I mean when I say inject a business model? It's real simple. You're going to start saying, okay, there's an industry habit of looking at discounts. Now, here in higher ed only. And what is discount rate? It's essentially saying, here at Dillard University, I'm going to, so our discount rate is probably about, what, 51.5% currently. Let me just say 50% just for ease of math. So our tuition and fees is $20,000. In essence, what do we say? If you can't pay $10,000, albeit from Pell, state scholarship, or whatever, we don't want you. That's essentially what our position is. No, 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 okay? I'm not focused on discount rate. I'm focused on top line. I'm focused on growing revenue. So, yes, in industry, you have certain clients that pay more, and you have certain clients that don't pay as much. I want to grow revenue. Our obligation to the students, if we bring them in, if we recruit them, is to graduate them. You know, that is really where I'm founded in. So, as Dr. Guillory mentioned, student can transfer. If they have a big balance, they can get their transcript and just leave, right? So how do I look at that? I look at that as we've overcharged the student. We charge them more than they can pay. Remember that $10,000? We're going to charge that regardless. You know, that's our current model. So what I want to express is that Dillard is affordable. We're going to shift and change, and we're going to recruit the students that we need to recruit, grow our revenue. We can't give it away. You know, we can't give it away, but we can definitely bring in students, keep them, they can graduate, and we can grow our enrollment, and we can grow our school, the university, and really take a position that we're not just an ordinary HBCU. We're actually a standard bearer in whatever we're doing. So with all that being said, and again, it's a pleasure working with Dr. Guillory, because she's not about standing still. We cannot stand still. We have to be innovative. We have to be. I'm no longer I was at a conference, and it was implied that we need to replicate another institution. I raised my hand, and I said, no, that's not true at all. They need to replicate us. That's what they're trying to do now. So just be mindful of that as we're moving forward, that we're well positioned. We just have to do the things that industry does. We have to build our marketing. That has to coincide with our admissions. They have to work in tandem. Our admissions is sales. They're no longer processing applications. They are selling because we don't have enough students. So, let's all be mindful of that as we're moving forward. And retention is everybody's business. Everybody. As faculty, you're in the classroom there. Retention, you're there. When my staff is meeting people, retention. If you just want to look at it from a business model perspective, hey, if you decide to be rude or discourteous to that student, that's in essence from a gross revenue standpoint, you're saying goodbye to about $35,000. That's what you're saying. I don't care about your $35,000. Okay? So let's just be mindful of that. Here, I'm going to run through the numbers here. As Dr. Guillory mentioned, we didn't hit enrollment. And this is a presentation that I've made to the board as well. I just want you to know that. So, I'm not doing different presentations. But we fell short on our revenue about $1.3 million. And, that's just cascaded down to the bottom line. Our budget, we budgeted for about $573,000 of positive change. I look at operating results. So we had an operating income that was forecasted about $573,000. Currently, we would be in a loss position about $771,000. But I did not propose a budget adjustment, and this is why. As I've mentioned, our change in net assets from operations, $771,000 loss. However, our EPA grant, we're showing about a $575,000 indirect costs that will be coming through. And speaking of the EPA grant, Kim Torres, she's done a heck of a job moving this forward. A lot of things that we're doing is fueled by that. We do have a meeting, and we are expediting everything that we're doing to make sure that we can bring as much of the equipment and get the benefit of that grant as soon as possible. So that is a major concern. However, we have been kind of getting in front of that, just so you know. So this isn't something that we just all of a sudden we're reacting to. Overstatement of salaries and benefits. We estimated about $1 million overstatement in salaries and benefits. What does that mean? The salaries and benefits, it's really, the assumption is you are employed July 1. So every month that goes by, again, that reduces the amount of actual expense that we will incur. So for instance, if we have a $50,000 position and that position is filled, say, January, then we don't have to pay out that position for 6 months, so half the year. So actually, the actual expense incurred for that position is $25,000. So we have savings of $25,000. So again, calculated about, it was about $978,000. I took about half of that and said, hey, we're going to have savings from a budgetary perspective, about $475,000. That came out to about $1.1 million offset. So in the predictive model, and that's what a budget is, a budget says that I am predicting that we're going to land at $279,000 operating profit. That's what that means. We are looking at our budget model because we've fallen short. There have been several reasons why we've fallen short in terms of meeting our goals. One is how we handle restricted revenue. So what does that mean? We have a carry forward of Title III of over $2 million. In prior years, if we had released that money as we could have, we would have had favorable financial statement results. So again, a lot of this is technical accounting, and guess what? I am an accounting nerd. You know, this is something that I do. I'll be teaching intermediate accounting, probably not this spring, but, you know, hopefully next year I plan to do that. You know, this is just what I do in industry and so forth. So we're going to cure all of the technical issues, but as Dr. Guillory mentioned, process issues are problematic. We have to move everything as much as possible back into Genzabar. That is our ERP tool, and that is how we can collect data, make informed decisions timely. Currently, we have all these disaggregated platforms that we use. Trying to get the data is really a challenge. June 30th is our year end. We just finalized our trial balance this week for June 30th. It's ridiculous, okay? Imagine that. We're operating like we're in the 1980s, honestly. You know, you can't operate like that. It's a competitive disadvantage to the nth degree. So we're all going to move as much as we can back into Genzabar. I'm asking that everyone become a certified Genzabar user. And let's say, Ed, I love my platform. I can't leave it. Well, okay, become a certified Genzabar user. Let's make the comparative. Because if you're not certified, then I can't rely on your comparative analysis. You know, so if you can show me that your platform is that much better, then yes, we can have a discussion. But if you cannot, we have to move back. We really do. So I just want to lay that groundwork for that. I know we're working hard to do that, but please be open to that. That will allow us to compete, because we are competing. I'm going to always say that. We are in a competitive industry. Cash. Cash is what I really look at. I pay attention to cash more than I do the bottom line, honestly. We can't run out of money, right? We have to make payroll. I'm always looking at cash. And yes, I sometimes will be a little creative. What we find is our reflexes. We have certain reflexes, and this is not just something that I just see in higher education. I come out of manufacturing and distribution industry, and I see this all the time as well. We have bad habits, and so we just have to really, again, be innovative. Look at what we do. Ask ourselves, why do we do it? Do we do it because we've always done it? That's not an answer. We really have to challenge ourselves and really open up to new ideas and new ways of doing things. So our cash position. Beginning cash was about $606,000. I think that's understated. You know, we're going through the accounting process, but again, this was something that was provided at that time. So $606,000. We're showing that we're going to have change in net assets of about $771,000 in the red, a loss. Now, when I add back depreciation, that's a non-cash expense. That's roughly about $4 million. I back out capital expenditures. Again, capital expenditures, you see that in depreciation. That is actually cash being used. I'm saying we're going to use about $850,000. Line of credit payment, we have a balance right now about $4 million. I'm saying by the end of the year, we'll have that down to about 1.5. So I'll be spending down about $2.5 million on that. So total cash adjustments, $620,000 positive. When you add when you add that all up, so you're going to take the 606, subtract the 771, add back in the 620, and we're going to have ending cash, I'm predicting, of $456,000 positive. Now, that is okay. That's, you know, that's pencil thin. I'm just letting you know that. Our payroll is not $456,000. Assumption is almost double that. So we're working in a very uncomfortable place right now. I just want you to be mindful of that. But I'm just going to say this, that it is positive. You know, I've been to places where it wasn't, okay? My forecasting was not. And, you know, we had to make real significant adjustments quickly. I apologize, this capital budget is a little small for you, but in essence, the new resident hall, it's on time and on budget. It's about $41 million. It's going to provide 251 beds. Again, it's on time and on budget. I'm going to say kudos to all those involved in this. The minority and women participation on this project is 42%. I've never seen that in my life. 20% is really considered great. 42%, I'm just going to say that's incredible. When I saw that number, and again, it was restated, the accountant in me wants to verify that number, but you know, I've been told multiple times that that is the number. Kearney Hall, we were initially going to renovate Henson. We moved all that money back into renovating Kearney, a full renovation. We're going to be stripping down our walls and looking at replacing the pipes. The root cause there is our kitchen. You know, so we're going to really work on that. It's about a 9 to 12 month project. So what that means is we can't do it in one summer. It's going to take multiple summers and actually a winter break. But, you know, again, we're focused on that because our clients, our students deserve that at the very least. Sodexo is providing the funding. It's not philanthropy. We're paying them back over a 10-year period. Just be mindful of that. But again, very excited about that. We have some campus chiller systems and HVAC systems. We all know this. The root cause. The root cause is real simple. It's we have this central chiller process. We have these chiller towers. So they come in with chilled water. And let me say this. This is the most efficient and cost-effective way to provide cooling, okay? So I was so impressed when I got here that we had this. But the return of that chilled water, we have leakage. And because we have that leakage, we can't treat the water. So what does that mean? If we don't treat the water, it clogs up our pipes. You know, when we have fan coils in all the resident halls, they get clogged up. So, again, the root cause is simply, we're in the process of finding the leak. They just found one yesterday. So that's a real big focus. Once we can find that leak, then we can start treating the water. The pipes will become clean. We're going to have to replace some of the equipment because it's been impacted so negatively. So now I just want to share that with you because we understand what we have to do. We have a plan to do it, and it will fix it. So I just, you know, again, that's just a major finding for us and been working really hand in hand, not just with the facilities team, but with outside vendors as well. We're getting money from the National Park District for all our historic landmark buildings. So Howard House, we're also talking to them about the library and other projects. Very excited about that. That should be kicking off really soon. And we're looking at chapel renovations, even the Andrew Young House. So again, looking at using historic landmark funding for that. So again, we have a pathway. We have a pathway not only just to be okay, but we have a pathway to be competitive. I mean, competitive with anyone. We do have a project that we're looking at, and it's focused on the Gentilly Gardens. From a master plan perspective, we would be looking at demolishing all of the Gentilly Gardens and rebuilding that. It's going to range from about, what, $70 to $100 million. It's a public-private partnership. So as we're looking at that, we have 815 beds currently. The Suno beds, we actually rent beds from Suno, about 128 beds. we're going to add 251 beds with the new resident hall. So at the end, we'll have a net increase in beds of 938. But however, when we move forward with the Gentilly project, that's going to reduce our beds by about 150. So we'll have net beds for 2 years, because it's going to take about 2 years of construction. The whole project is about 30 to 36 months. Again, that's architectural work, getting permitting and all of that. But we'll be down for 2 years with 150 beds. We should be adding at the end of the project. But, you know, again, everything is tied to enrollment. So until we can prove that we need these beds, we have to kind of pause on that. But again, it's a 3-year out on this. So if the trending says that our enrollment is moving that direction, then I'm all hands on deck and moving forward with that. So that concludes my portion. And again, it's a privilege working with Dr. Guillory. She's an innovative woman, and we can't stand still. I walked into the door, and there's about, I think, 4 proposals that are on my desk. That's not a priority for me, because what's my priority? My priority is making sure our HVACs work, getting our resident hall squared away, getting Kearney squared away. So again, that's a 3-year project. I'll probably really start looking at that in the next 6 months. So that's a great point. And my approach is really, and my staff can tell you this, and whoever works with me, is to bring everyone to the table. So that includes students. And saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. Now, we do have the new resident hall, and that's a gorgeous building.
And it's actually going to serve that purpose. I mean, we've been talking about that, and that, you know, students would come in as first-time freshmen or incoming freshmen. They would live on the campus, and they could graduate to the new residence hall as they become upperclassmen, because that is meant to be a living learning community, which is more than just a residence hall. It has its own kitchen. Are you all planning to go on that tour? Is that today or tomorrow? Okay, yeah, so it's about 20 people who are going to have, right, and you can see the display boards, but that is meant to serve a similar purpose that the Gardens did, that you will graduate. It's a rite of passage to be able to stay in the new residence hall. So we're mindful of that as well.
And I live in Gentilly Gardens, you know, and I'm going to say we can do better. I'm going to say that simply put. You know, it's a cost drain, it's a cash drain, and I think we can do better. So the results would actually speak, you know, more to what you were stating.
Right. And so again, as we're talking about the residence halls, this is just basically the occupancy currently, where we are with the different residence halls. And I do want to point out that we have, at the time that we did this, we had about 20 rooms offline because of repairs that need to be made to the room. So this is something we're really mindful of right now. As the new residence halls are coming online and they're all shiny and, you know, new, the old residence halls, the current residence halls, really need some rehabilitation because students are going to be comparing, right? And so we have to get in there this summer and at least spruce up and renovate the common spaces, the kitchen areas, and definitely working with ventilation in the old residence halls, because we've had some issues with microbial growth, and, you know, students have been talking about this. So we have to be mindful of doing both things at the same time, bringing the new residence halls online, but also making sure that the current residence halls are still appealing to our enrolled students. And I'll go through these really quickly. There are some boards and renderings of the new residence hall. It's very impressive. I'm so excited. It has a lot of flexible space. We have a cafe where we're going to bring in a food vendor. One of the things I've been really committed to addressing for the Gentilly community is that we are basically in a food desert. And, Gentilly just is not the neighborhood it was probably when you were a student here. There are not a whole lot of restaurants left. There are not a lot of grocery stores left. And so we are anticipating that whatever food service we put in the new residence hall, it will be something that's utilized not only by our students, but by the community. And so we're mindful of that. But certainly if you can, if you just even drive by the new structure, it's very impressive. And these are some additional facilities updates. Ed kind of touched on these. The new dormitory, it's on schedule and on budget. Library renovations, we're thinking a lot about our auxiliary revenue. Remember from the strategic plan, non-tuition revenue, right? And we have a lot of demand to come on our campus. Again, iconic space in New Orleans. That is what our campus is. Lawless Chapel, how many marriages, how many weddings? We still get a lot of demands for renting Lawless Chapel. And so we are thinking about that whole compound, like almost a whole complex for Lawless. So the renovations to Lawless, but also then the library, so that our library will actually become a digital library, so that the library facility itself will become more of a learning commons where students can assemble and gather in small groups and whatnot, probably some studio space, some small pods for small group work, but also having some flexible space in the library so that we can have receptions or we can have a repast at the library. So that is what we're thinking about, and then converting that space between the chapel and the library into a tranquility garden. So think about pictures. You got married at the chapel, you want to take pictures on your way to the reception. So we're thinking about that whole complex. And then Howard House, we're looking at rehabilitating Howard House. Well, that's where your bridal party can stay. And so we're thinking about Howard House. It will be, remember, Howard House had always been a residence, and Thurgood Marshall had stayed there, Martin Luther King. So we're going to restore it to being a residence, almost like our on-campus Airbnb. And so the whole thing, if you want to have a whole Dillard experience, you can do that. You can have an event, you can have a reception, you can stay on campus. And so that is part of the vision for how we are rehabilitating some of these spaces. Ed already talked about P3 and Gentilly Gardens, the public-private partnership, and the mechanical HVAC. That comprehensively has to happen on campus. We're still struggling with these issues, and that will be rehabilitated, hopefully, over the next couple of years. The EPA grant, we've touched on this. It was really a boon for us to receive this award. We were the first HBCU to receive this grant from the EPA, $20 million over 3 years. It was part of an $80 million award to the city of New Orleans. So this is in tandem with other clean energy and community change initiatives throughout the city. You might have seen the Blue Bikes. The Blue Bikes currently are not operational in Gentilly. We're going to bring the Blue Bikes into Gentilly. It's a big investment in solar energy. We will actually be promoting workforce development with solar panel installation and working with the Louisiana Green Corps, who does workforce development for solar panel installation, installing solar panel gardens in different places, converting to solar energy here on campus, and the installation of electric charging stations for EVs, for electric vehicles. That would be on campus as well. So all of this would be covered by the EPA grant. And so we're really excited to have secured that. And so again, okay, this is like my last panel. It's my last one. I'm here. Your meeting is next. So I don't have to go anywhere. This would encroach on your meeting time. So we can stay as long as you like. Okay? So I'll just go through next steps, and then I think we can take questions. Stabilizing the institution. When I think about the updates that I would make to the strategic plan, those updates would be under the theme of stability, success, and succession. Stabilizing the institution, hiring for critical positions, removing these interim positions and these interim roles, signaling to our own workforce, internally and externally, Dillard is now stable. So now we can build. balance efficiency and effectiveness, our processes and our systems, but people have to be first. So when we talk about getting people certified in Genzabar, that takes time. We can't just assume people know how to work these systems. We need to partner people with coaches and mentors. We need to make sure they understand how they are going to do work differently. That requires us to kind of stop and check in with people. We can't, I think we've had a tendency to kind of put people in positions and think they're going to figure it out, and they don't always do that. And I think that's why we've had so many systems that are just kind of been replicated, because we've not done a great job of onboarding people when we bring them in to make sure we're clear about what is the new process that we're putting in place in this unit. Adjusting proactively to the changing culture of work, remote work, and thinking about what people need in the workforce. Again, when I talked to Dr. Teamer and she heard about like kind of some of the things we were doing, she's like, we didn't do things that way. What happened? You know, what happened with some of the systems that we had in place? And, you know, one of the things we have to remember, there was this thing called the pandemic. You know, there was a 2-year lapse in every workplace. And people didn't just come back and things just prop back right back up. Everything was transformed. And so we have to be mindful of that. And so we're actually kind of rebuilding these systems and hopefully rebuilding them better. Clearer pathways to promotions, raises, and merit. I want that to be very clear to our workforce. You know, if you're in this position now, where can you go? I mean, we're a relatively small workforce. So, you know, we don't want them to think, well, I'm going to go someplace else. I'm going to go work someplace else so I can earn more money. Is there a way for people to think about progression and moving into higher levels of responsibility and earning more? And that might be through merit pay. Equity and equitable practice, we're looking at pay bands. One of the things we desperately need to do now that we have done this RIF is look at our pay structure. We really need to have a compensation study done about our titles and our compensation in comparison to other markets. Possible shifts in federal pay. Everybody knows that this is kind of looming on the horizon in January with the Fair Labor stats, that we may be changing the requirements for exempt workers, and that will be a big jump. And so that's something that we have to contend with and think about what are the implications for us. Academic innovations through program review, completion of our SACS 5-year review. You know, we're on a warning with SACS right now because of our library resources. So we want to clear up all of that. We don't want any more probation. We don't want any more warnings. Again, this goes back to the stability question, all right? Clearing up all of those things so that we can then move forward. And one of the things I put here too is enjoying your work. You know, I hear how people feel very demoralized by the RIF. We have fewer people here. Dillard had always been a very stable institution. And to watch people who had been here for 17, 20 years, you know, have to leave is very disruptive, you know. And again, going back to that stability, this is such an iconic and important, illustrious institution. There should be a comprehensive sense of pride to be affiliated with Dillard, to work at Dillard, to enroll at Dillard. And I want to make sure we return to that and that there is a sense of joy. I want to be able to tell our workforce, okay, we're done with the RIFs. All right, like just come, do your job, be trained. We want to hear your ideas. How do you innovate in your area? But I do want people to be happy to be here. And one of the things I've talked about in the answers, that, you know, there is a lot of blame that people assign to other people. Why things aren't happening, what happened, oh, well, they're supposed to do this, or it gets stuck over there, or it's sitting on their desk. We're done with all that. It's all Team Dillard, and we all have to move forward together. And hopefully, we will see you all in the spring at commencement. Jericho Brown, the recent MacArthur Genius Awardee, is going to be our commencement speaker. He won the Pulitzer Prize in 2020, one of our illustrious alums. So we're really looking forward to welcoming him back to campus. And so that's it. I'll take your questions now. You had a question in the back? So let me correct that. It's not the President's House, it is Howard House. Howard House had always been a residential, it had been a residential space previously, and we were going to, and right now I think IT is in Howard House, that we've used it for office space. We're going to revert it back to a residence, okay? And a temporary residence, so no one actually will live there, but you could come and rent, or if we had a visiting scholar. So it's Howard House, it's not the President's House. Me personally, if I were appointed president, I would love to live in the President's house. So, you know, that's, yes. I mean, so there is the President's house, but there's also Howard House next to the President's house. Yes. Yeah. S- uh, uh, You know, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, typically there was funding provided. Up until Dr. Ford, the previous presidents did live off campus, and funding was provided to underwrite that. But there has been renovations that were done to the President's house, and I think it's a beautiful space. So I do have an 8-year-old who is kind of rambunctious. So they would have to, you know, we'd have to sign some kind of agreements that if there are crayons on the wall or something like that. But I would really be privileged and honored to live on campus. And I'm very clear about what that means. This is my 8th institution, I should probably say. I've worked at 8 different colleges or universities. This is my 7th HBCU. The one that was not an HBCU was a minority serving institution that, you know, for all intents and purposes by its enrollment, it was 70% African American and Latinx. And that was kind of just the evolution. You see a lot of minority serving institutions that are emerging now based on the stats that Ed shared about, you know, kind of what is college enrollment today and what it looks like. So I've had a lot of experiences with presidents who live in president houses. And I'll leave it at that. Other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, like I said, I mean, we have to be cognizant of the new space coming online and making sure that the current spaces are still appealing to our students. It's never going to be as, you know, kind of accommodating and lovely as the very new space, but we will be going into all of the residence halls as much as we can this summer to, you know, kind of renovate the common spaces, help with the ventilation and the air quality in those spaces. So we will be doing some of those things this summer. I just think we need to be, you know, cautiously optimistic about what that difference is going to be. These are still kind of older residence halls, you know, and that's what we have. We just want to make sure they are clean and safe and habitable you know, conducive for our students to really live and learn there. Yeah, we're very cognizant of that and have met with the RAs, Camp for Hartzell. We've had meetings with them. We've actually contracted with an environmental hygienist to test air quality in the residence halls. This is an ongoing project right now. And like I said, part of what we know we have to do over the summer is change out all of the air vents in the restrooms, because we're seeing that when students take showers and whatnot, that air is not circulating enough so that all that moisture stays, and that is part of what fosters that microbial growth. So we're very aware of it, and she's absolutely right. our students deserve better, and we have to be cognizant and prioritize their health and their well-being. And so we are working on that right now. Yes, ma'am. Is this working?
Tuition too. Will that mean, I'm sorry, okay. Will that mean that tuition will be going up again? Because this will be the second year that tuition has gone up for students. And I'm a sophomore here, and tuition went up my freshman year here and my sophomore. So does that mean it's going to go up my junior year as well? And Dillard University isn't giving any more funding for students to be able to come here?
We actually have a new tuition model, right, where I thought we had frozen, we are freezing tuition when you come in. So, Ed, do you want to talk about that? Because when I first came here, that was something that we were talking about. So when a student came in, they would know exactly what their tuition is going to be for the duration of when they are at Dillard. And maybe that wasn't in effect. It probably wasn't in effect by the time you enrolled, but that is something that we are putting in place so that you and your family won't have to deal with, unsuspected like tuition hikes.
And then also we're creating a student-run scholarship office. So I'm also challenge you to help me do that. Currently writing a business plan. I have a student intern who's working with me on that. Again, I've instituted this at all of the private HBCUs that I've worked at. We're developing the model, but again, it'll provide funded scholarships, and you'll be able to benefit. We won't. So currently, we're looking at a model where the first $4,000 that you raise, we'll split it with you. We'll take, say, $2,000. You get $2,000. We'll take $2,000 against your balance or against your institutional scholarship money. Anything beyond $4,000, we'll share 75% to you, 25% back to the institution. That model can change. It can be $3,000. Again, working with the business plan on that, but it's going to be student-run, and we're going to have an app to access it. It'll be some web access. From a budgetary perspective, again, we have to be prudent. So we're looking at different models. We'll be bringing all of the campus community into that modeling. Again, the current business model has been driven from the very top down. The most effective budgeting processes are bottom up. So it's a heavy lift on the front end, but at least you know what your budget is. So, again, we're trying to make this affordable. Again, it's very important that we keep the Dillard experience affordable. I am a parent of a student in college and university, so I'm experiencing that myself. Did that answer you?
I want to know, and when will the students be getting notified about this? Because I just want to say half of the things that go on or be said, the students are one of the last people to actually find out about these things. Being that we actually live on this campus, for our Student Government Association as well, we are one of the last people to actually know what's going on.
And I'm going to say to you, that's a fair statement, but that is a historic statement. I'm going to say that I am available. I did want to meet. I was unable to meet because of just, I was told to reschedule because of certain concerns. But I do have an open door. I have an open door in my office. I'm in Rosenwald 106F. And again, I'm open to meet and talk about these things. We're currently creating this new budget model, and I'll bring you in for certain.
Good morning. In our capital plan to look for non-tuition money, how are we serving the city or community in national meetings, things of the sort that want to come to our space? Is that an idea plan for the future?
Absolutely. This is actually something that Dr. Ford had started talking about, Destination Dillard, and it's part of the reason why we're thinking about our space as destination space, thinking of envisioning it like how these events can be coordinated. We're actually in conversations with the Super Bowl host committee, that some of those meetings, a lot of that space, hotel space right now for the Super Bowl is completely booked. And so now they're looking for meeting space on different campuses and whatnot. So we're in conversations with them about that. So we're certainly, that is part of our strategic direction and focus, to have more diverse revenue streams. And that is one of the ways we want to do it, to host more meetings, more events on campus. One of the things that we've talked about, again, that master plan, how come it's yellow, some of the things that we're looking at changing, we noticed that there's not a lot of traffic, for example, that goes to the new student union, okay? It's there, it's a great facility, but students, where do students really gravitate? Where do students really hang out? Kearney, okay? I mean, we can like resist it all we want, but Kearney is the heart of the campus. And so one of the things that we are considering is transforming the union space into a business incubator. So again, that diversified revenue, people want to be on our campus. They want to have access to our students. They love this space. And so that is one of the ways, we don't want to take anything away from students, but we are not really optimizing the space that we have on this campus. And so that is one of the things that we're considering, for example, that we could turn the current student union into a business incubator and a conference center. So that's just one example.
Good morning, everyone. My apologies on my voice as well.
Y'all
It is
must be
not
partying.
because
What
I
did
was
I
celebrating.
miss?
It's not, unfortunately. My name is Kimya Babers, class of 1999. I just want to reiterate a statement that was made about the importance about being thoughtful about customer service, which included the students. And it disturbs me that we have current students in here who are saying that they're hearing things for the first time and that they don't know what's next for their Dillard. And we're trying to figure out what's next for our Dillard, right? And as alums, we have been very intentional about being more involved. And unfortunately, we haven't been given a fair opportunity to do that. And so I want to contribute to that statement in saying that when we're talking about customer service with Dillard University, that includes alumni relations and relationships. Because without that, you risk generational enrollment. Because there are a lot of alums who will not send their kids here anymore, because of what's going on and because of the culture. Another thing that was said is that we are in a well-positioned state. So my question is, what is the university's interpretation of well-positioned? Are we speaking financially? Are we speaking socially? Are we speaking culturally? What are we speaking of when we say well-positioned? Because respectfully, I don't see it. I don't. And so honestly, I want some answers.
Did you get my 20 pages of answers?
I got it, and I read every last one of
Okay,
it.
good.
But I would like to hear from you.
Awesome. I'm happy to share that. And you're absolutely right.
I just want to say something. That goes to her point about communication. Your email came out last night
I
at
know.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
We were getting off airplanes. We were moving around, trying to prepare to be engaged. And so when you opened this up and I said, will there be questions? And you said, did you get the answers? That was not the appropriate response to that, in my opinion.
I am so sorry.
Because many of you probably don't even know what questions were sent out to you. And it was 20 pages.
Yeah.
So I think it is a fair statement that you would open this forum up for us to ask you questions. And it didn't seem as though that was what was intended on for us to do today.
I am so sorry to have conveyed that. Let me be clear. I was determined to get those answers to you for homecoming. It took everything in me to get the information from my cabinet. I promised you answers. I did not want to stand before you and not having made good on that promise. So while it was late, I wanted to make sure you had it. And I understand you haven't had an opportunity. I'm asking only because I want to be sure you got it. I understand you haven't had a chance to read it, but I know that there have been breakdowns in communication. So I do want to make sure that our efforts are, the efforts that we are making, are landing. Communication goes both ways. I definitely do not want you to misinterpret my commitment to you all. You are absolutely right. This institution is 155 years old. There are a lot of alumni out there, and they are critical to our success and our future. I am crystal clear about that. I have made the efforts that I could make in the 7 months that I've been in this role to connect with alumni, to attend alumni functions in Atlanta and Washington. Is there more we can do? Is there more we have to do? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am open to whatever you all suggest will improve this relationship and this communication. So I'm not saying, did you get my answers, to say that I'm not going to answer you. I will answer. I'll be here all day. I just wanted to make sure you got it because it did go out yesterday.
So let me say this. We appreciate that you took the time to answer and send 20 pages for us to read through. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic when I say that. We appreciate that. However, and I know it comes everything before, but the thing is, when we asked the question and your responses, did you get my answer?
She apologized, so can we just
Okay.
move on?
It becomes kind of like, even though you didn't say it, I want you to understand the intention, what we think, and well, let me not say we, what I think, the intention behind what you're saying, right? And it may not be your intention, but understand where we're coming from. So it's not, and I think it's part of the communication better. I think what has happened over the years, the culture of Dillard administration is that they feel attacked when people are questioning. This is our alma mater. I want to see Dillard succeed. You didn't go here. You didn't go here. This is our school. And when we see our school not being the Dillard that I came to in the golden years, it's emotional for me.
I understand.
And it's disappointing. Me, I'm not satisfied. And I'm not going to stop speaking.
Please don't. Please don't.
I'm not going to apologize for how I presented, but I will say this. Receive it how you receive it, but we're going to continue to talk about it.
Please do. I ask you to. Yes, ma'am.
Wait, I'm next, babe. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I have
We recognize that you guys are new and you're stepping into a situation that you inherited. So the passion you hear is the alumni just wanting to partner to figure out what we can do to help. And I feel like alumni have been reaching out over the years, and we haven't been, embraced to figure out ways we can help. There's a lot of alumni that work for entities that could easily donate funds to Dillard. But I don't feel like you guys always leverage that. And I think that's what needs to be more of the focus, is utilizing your alumni to help, with some of the financial issues. So we do appreciate the efforts that are being made. I'm an accountant by trade, so I understood the budget and kind of what you were getting at.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say first, thank you, because I know this is hard. And you have inherited something that some of our presidents have torn down over the years, and a lot of alumni didn't stand up when that was happening. So thank you for stepping up right now. My two-part question really quick. One, I know we probably don't know this yet. HBCUs with the new president coming in, we may lose some funds because I know we had the HBCU fund. Are you guys prepared for that or looking into what may happen? And we just don't know. We don't know if they're going to cut that, but that's something we probably need to be aware of. Second, big question about our board members. I love half of them, I know. But my thing is, if they are not on the board to raise money and bring money to Dillard, they've got to go. They've got to go. I work, and I'm gonna tell everyone in here, I give to Dillard. I have my company, I made sure Dillard got a $10,000 grant. I know that's not a lot, but that's what I could get through my company. What are we doing? Are you doing that? We've got to step up too. We can't just say they have to do. African Americans, we have to start giving back to our schools. White people, when they die, guess what they do? Donate their money to their school, their cars, their boats. What are we doing? We can't always say it's coming this way and to us, we've got to go this way too. I come back here, I feel like I should have a bed. I'm always on Dillard's campus helping.
You can stay at
the
Howard House
students,
soon.
giving clothes, doing whatever I can do. We've got to step up too. Did y'all bring clothes with you? Because Dillard Alumni Association sent the email out to fix the, bring money for the clothing closet. We've got to help too. Thank you.
No. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for saying that, and that's part of what I want to echo. As a more recent alum, well, not more recent, I'm 20 years out, but a younger alum, still under 40, I found it challenging to be in spaces like this, not necessarily because of our administration. So I think I'm talking to like our fellow alums. Since I was a student, I've seen folks come to these meetings like on ready. And it's been time for me to like step back. I've not even wanted to be a part of DUNA, and I'm gonna say that, not want to be a part of the chapters because it became spaces like this. And so there's a lot of questions. I've seen a list of questions, but I appreciate you saying, what are those solutions, right? I too went to my company, hey, let's give some money to the computer science department. That took 2 emails, it was done. Right, and so while I appreciate the level of questions, and I think we're all passionate about Dillard as alums, but I'd really say just we're waiting for this partnership, and we want an email with a bow on it. Just do it. The people are there. They've been responding, and so anything that I've stepped up to say like I want to do has not been shot down by Dillard, the professors, administration. And so I understand some of these challenges, and I understand they're frustrating, but with the amount of talent in here, the amount of the degrees in here, I'm hoping that will help folks be more solution-oriented and understanding how you can use those talents to develop those suggest that partnership idea. What do you want that to look like? Send a proposal. Like, I don't think there's anything stopping us from doing these things, but it becomes frustrating for even other alums to want to be a part of this when we come and stand on ready in a way to me that is unproductive, because we feel we want to hold folks accountable. And so let's look internally on that accountability. And that's kind of all I want to say. So thank you all for providing this space, but I hope that we can continue to support you all in ways that do not require this level of communication or type of communication.
I really appreciate that. And so let me just say this, okay? I feel so privileged to be serving as your leader. So privileged, so honored. You should hold us accountable. I have no problem with that at all. This is not hard for me at all. This is leadership. People are not happy. People are not satisfied. A lot of things have changed at Dillard. There has been a lot of instability. That's real. You should have answers. I'm okay with providing those answers. You know, I am okay with providing those answers. the sister who was here who's not satisfied, I want her to keep talking until she's satisfied, you know? And I don't control her level of satisfaction. All I can do is present the facts and the truth as I know them, you know? So I don't feel attacked. This is what comes with leadership. These are tough spaces. This is a tough time, period, across the country, let alone on our campuses. The question about funding and what's going to happen at HBCU, we don't know. We just really don't know, but we better be prepared. And this isn't new, people. We know this. These forces, these interests have been simmering for a long time in this country. And we've been cognizant of that in our HBCU spaces. I was so happy to be coming to work at an HBCU on November 6th. So happy to be here, you know? So this is my charge. If I'm appointed the president of Dillard, yes, working with you all, bringing that stability, giving you the answers. I do have to caution you, though. It will look different. It has to. You know, it just has to. Now, what it will look like, I want your input. I will be talking to faculty about our programming and whatnot, but that is part of the concern I sometimes have when I talk to alumni, that your expectation and understanding of what Dillard was like when you enrolled here, and it's so different. Our students are different, you know, but they are brilliant. They are talented. They look different, they dress different. You know, I don't want to talk about that right now, but they do, and I'm really trying to navigate that space with them, you know, but being very careful and having that clear, open communication is tough. It is just tough, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it, and I'd like you all to be here for it too. So please don't stop. Send me your questions. I can stand here all day and answer questions. You'll have my phone number. You can email me directly. I will answer your questions.
Good
Yeah.
morning. For those who don't know me, my name is Abby Lynn Gonzalez, and I currently serve as the 89th SGA president here at Dillard University. I have a few questions. Thank you. The first question is to your statement that you just said, stating that you will be reaching out to alumni as well as faculty. Are you also going to be reaching out to students to see how that is going to shift, seeing that if you do get instated to president, you'll be working with the students who are here on campus, whether you get that position 1 year from now or 2 years from now. Students are the #1 priority. So you could obviously talk to alumni. That is great because their experience here also matters, but what matters the most is the students who are currently on the campus.
So Abby, did we not have a student town hall scheduled for this week that got canceled?
We do.
Right. Okay, so, you know, I mean, I didn't state that because I'm talking to y'all all the time, you know? I mean, so let's be clear and let's not present a picture that we don't talk. You know, we had a town hall scheduled. We had a dialogue back and forth about, you know, mental health days and whatnot, and it was canceled. I didn't cancel it, okay? I've had town halls with the students. Absolutely, that goes without saying. We live together. I don't live with these people. I live with you, you know? And so again, our communication has to go back and forth. I am very open all the time to talking to students. I've never denied an opportunity to speak to students. And so again, I am waiting for when that student town hall will be rescheduled.
Great, thank you. The second question is in regards to the academic programming here on Dillard's campus. I know that we recently acquired our master's in nursing. I was on the live stream earlier when you stated that we're trying to acquire a master's in psychology.
Yes.
How can we try to bring more programming to Dillard when our current programs are not up to date? And when are we going to start looking into those programs and fixing those programs, especially in the social sciences and in humanities?
So we're currently in an academic program review process that started last year. It will be completed this year. And so all of that is really looking at resources, current faculty levels and whatnot. The master's program in nursing, that was something that had started before I came here. We do know that our graduate programs tend to bring in revenue. People who enroll in graduate programs, they are more open to taking out loans, just like I showed. Undergraduate students and their families don't want to take out loans, whereas graduates, adults, who are in the workforce and they know by earning that graduate degree, they're going to have more earning potential. And so that's part of the reason why we're looking at more graduate programs, but that the academic program review is really focused on our undergraduate programs and what we will be doing to reinvigorate those. Some of them may be consolidated. We know that there's an opportunity in our film and theater program, the social sciences. We just happened to hire our new pre-law director this year. So you're absolutely right. We do have to do more to make sure our undergraduate offerings are more appealing to students.
Thank you. My next question is in regards to the student union, and I heard the idea of changing it into a business venue because the heart of campus is Kearney. The heart of campus is Kearney. However, there are way more opportunities in the student union. The reason as to why students are not there are because they are currently offline, and that includes the bowling alley on campus. There's not many spaces for them to be in at the moment, therefore they're not there. I believe that if we get that back online, it will start to get a lot of more students present. I know we recently started using the movie theater more, especially with the chartering of our organizations like the Black Film Club as well as BCOS, that's a Bucks of Courage Studios. So changing that into, a place where we can generate revenue by bringing businesses in, I really don't suggest that idea, especially because a lot of offices that students go to are currently there. So then if we do change that, where would all of those offices go to? Those offices including SEAL, the Career Center, as well as the offices of SGA, Royal Court, and CPT.
All those offices are essential. They're essential to our student life, and they would just be, moved to some other place. When we renovate Kearney, we really want to make it a very hospitable, inviting space for students, not just to eat, but to gather for student activities. Also, the library rehabilitation is going to include additional spaces for students. Right now, students don't really hang out at the library the way you would envision a library kind of being the intellectual center of an academic campus, and we want that to happen. So, even in this building, we do not really optimize all the space we have on campus, and that's what we really want to do. And when we think about having to attract more non-tuition revenue, that is an opportunity, and we want to make that a win-win for the students as well. So when we have if we convert the student union to a business incubator, that's an opportunity for students to have internships with those businesses. It's not to say that you won't still have, we may keep the theater, because again, if you have a conference center, the opportunity to show films and to gather in a space that's like auditorium style seating, which the theater is, we could still use it for that purpose. So it's not to say that the union would be off limits to students. No, on the contrary, we actually want to put in the center, the student union, more businesses and opportunities that would give students opportunities to have internships, to interact with small businesses and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it really is regardless of what happens to the union, we have to optimize our space on campus. And even with our enrollment where it is, my target enrollment is about 1,500 students. And so if we get to that point, we still are not utilizing all the space we have on campus. So we wouldn't close down those offices, Abby Lynn. They would just be relocated someplace, and probably someplace more convenient for students.
Thank you.
She actually touched on one of the questions that I had. Again, when I was SGA president, our offices were in the bottom of Kearney. The student union is what we were promised and sold on. My VP was Mr. Charles Coleman over there. And we were also told that the bowling alley would be online and ran by students as work-study opportunities and also to generate revenue for the campus. And I'm hearing that the bowling alley hasn't been online since 2019 and that the movie theater is currently having its issues, and also that the facilities in the gym are not adequate. So my question is, will those things be brought up to date so that it can be utilized as a revenue-making function for the university. And also, again, we were promised that building for students and student government. We've already been in Kearney. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I would love to see all that functioning. You know, I really would, because again, not only would it be available to our students, but it would also generate revenue. I mean, we could have birthday parties in the bowling alley. It'd be great, you know. But, you know, when you are recognizing and adjusting for operational deficits that are requiring us to cut staff, and we also have to prioritize student health and safety, the bowling alley becomes less of a priority. It's important. I would love to have the revenue and the funds to fix that, you know, but I'm going to focus on the residence halls first. And then if I can get the resources to, you know, bring the bowling alley back online, I would love to do that. Because, again, those things aren't mutually exclusive. The student union could still be a business incubator, and we still have the theater and the bowling alley. Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, who doesn't want to go bowling in the middle of the day? I mean, I'd love to. You know, it could still be a selling point. So I don't think that we have to get rid of all those things that are currently amenities that should be available for students. But we do have to figure out a way to really optimize the use of space on campus. That's what yes, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Praise. You touched on something earlier where you mentioned we have conversation all the time, we being students in question. I don't want to sound mean or rude, but the students don't know who you are.
I understand that.
And so my question is, how do you, if you do become president, which a part of your large job will be current student relations, how do you plan on making yourself known to the current students on Dillard's campus? Because a lot of students' first and last time of seeing you was Founders Day convocation. And we don't see you at any of our student events. Even at the probate last night, which is one of our largest events for homecoming, you were not present. A lot of other engagements that Dillard is, that we have students being uplifted or students are at where you are required to be there, you have canceled at the last moment. So what is your plan to better your relationship with the students?
Could you clarify for me what was canceled at the last moment?
Your speaking engagement, you were supposed to speak, you were supposed to give a welcoming address at the SJ inauguration, and you were not present. As well as something prior, our concert choir, which is something that is very popular at Dillard, was supposed to be singing at Bethany Church. You were supposed to say some words. You were supposed to speak at Bethany Church, but you were also not there. And a lot of the students don't know who you are. They don't see you. You say you have an open door policy and that you are open. They don't know this because, one, they don't see
Well, please
you.
tell the students that if they email me and they want to meet with me, I will absolutely meet with them. It's been a hard 7 months. I'll just say that. I mean, this has been a hard 7 months. We had to go through a reduction in force where we had to separate about 30 to 35 employees. We have very critical areas of this institution, including HR, that are down to one staff person. One. My communications office is 2 people, and that is a videographer and a photographer. And I'm not making excuses. I mean, what you're saying is really true and absolutely critical. And as a aspiring president of this campus, it's not acceptable. I have to be visible to the students. You all have to feel comfortable with me as your leader. No question about it. Probate show last night, you're absolutely right. I was not there because I was sick yesterday. And I had to bail out of that at the last minute. But I was at coronation the night before, you know? And there are a lot of places that I have to be just because I don't really have the staff and the extension to send people to be in other places. Like, I was in Nashville this week, I was in Washington, D.C. this week, and now I'm here, okay? So I would love to be everywhere. I would have loved to have been at Bethany for the choir. The choir is an amazing resource that we have here. It is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite aspects of Dillard and student involvement. Give me a chance. I got to get there. You know, I just really have to catch up, and just give me a chance. You know, and I want to talk to students. Like I said, I tried to schedule a student town hall because I was surprised SGA had not required one. And so the back and forth between me and Abby Lynn and the SGA officers about canceling classes for election, I was like, hey, we just need to come together and talk about this, you know? So I'm very open, and if the students want to meet, if they want to come meet with me, the day that the students asked me to cancel classes for election day, I met with them that afternoon because I knew I was going out of town the next day. So I just want to make it very clear to the students who are present, I am available to you. I will always prioritize you if I am in a position to. And sometimes I'm just not. There are just places I have to be, honestly, because it deals with our revenue. It deals with our funding. And that's some of the places where I've been when I haven't been any other place. But last night was the first time I had to cancel something because I was sick. The one other time when I couldn't go to Bethany, my son was sick. And those are the two times when I had to cancel something. And I'm very clear about that because I take those obligations really seriously.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Ms. Francois. I'm going to give it to you right after, and you can just tag team with me. I just want to say a couple of things, and just out of respect, I want to apologize if you thought I was personally attacking you. Okay, that's number one.
I don't.
Number two, I think I'm disheartened to hear parts of the conversation because it's not balanced. Now, I work in higher education, and I teach people how to run colleges and universities. And your opening statement was, well, a part of your opening was that we have to create a new campus culture for students, or else we're going to lose them. However we existed in the past, we cannot keep that hazing mentality in place. These young people just told you a couple of problems they had. And whether we know them to be fact or fiction, they have expressed their concerns about how they feel as citizens of this campus and in this community. And as citizens, we owe it to them to hear it, because what I'm hearing is that they have not had forums with the campus. I'm not going to just say you. They've not had forums with the campus to have these concerns discussed. And if we are, as alums, if we owe it to them to hear this through, because they are the future alums. They'll be sitting in here and you'll be asking them for donations in the next 10 years. So whatever this sister's problem is, or whatever her concerns are, we owe it to ourselves as a campus community, alums, staff, faculty, whoever, to hear it through. I say that because when this sister stood up here and talked about her frustration and what it was that was happening at the university that was causing her to be sad about where we are at Dillard, there were moans and groans as if she didn't have that right to express that concern. But I want people to understand this. She has the right as an alum to say, here's where I am. She offered solutions, but you didn't hear them because we had alums so concerned about what she was saying. She was coming to you with solutions. And what hurts me so much about us as alums is that we're so quick to say, well, you know, I don't want to come in here and be on because I'm thinking that someone is coming to attack you. Sister, we're not attacking you. We know you inherited a problem that existed way before you got here. We're not attacking you, but what we're saying as concerned alums is that we're tired. It's been 15 years of being tired, expressing from Hurricane Katrina, okay, that was the problem. Then COVID, okay, that was the problem. We just want the problems to stop. We want alums to not make assumptions. There was an assumption made on this side of the room that, well, did you bring clothes for a clothing closet? Someone asked, well, are you giving? The assumption is that I believe everybody in this room is giving. That's going to be my assumption, because you got up at 9 o'clock in the morning and you came up here to engage with you. Again, we're not faulting you. We're not saying that this is what, we just know you inherited it. But you understand what it means to be a president. Yo, we about to get another president of the United States. We about to be mad at some things and that group of people was mad about what he inherited, right? So all I'm trying to say is let's cooperate in friendship. Let's cooperate in sisterly, brotherly love. Let's make sure that we don't cast out our sisters and brothers when they come to this place to say, this is how I feel about my citizenship as a Dillard alum or as a student. They had the right to do that. Everybody has the right to do that. Don't make me feel bad because just because I'm challenging you don't mean I don't love you. I love you. I don't even know you, but I love you because you're trying to do something for Dillard. So all I'm saying is I had another concern that I wanted to address about your 20 questions. This is why I asked you earlier. But I'll do that offline because I don't want to hold people up. But I do have some concerns about some of those statements. The concern will be given to you in the spirit of love and hopes that we can move the university forward, not in the spirit of the got you moment. I don't think anybody is trying to have a got you moment in here. I resent that that is even being implied that there's a got you. I resent it. So, but brother, I love you. Well, we can talk after the meeting, brother. We can talk after the meeting.
Let's keep it, if we're going to keep it real, let's keep it real.
I don't need that, trustee. I apologize for my tardiness, and if I'm being redundant, I apologize again.
You do need the mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize for my tardiness, and I apologize if I'm being redundant, if something I'm going to say has been spoken to already. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Interim President. We had an alumni Zoom call some time back, and there were many questions that were addressed, and I appreciate your answers to those questions. But there were a lot of other questions that were proposed that were supposed to be answered. Did I miss those answers? You were going to put those responses online, remember? Yesterday? Okay, well, I didn't see that. Okay, because I looked and they never came. So yesterday? Okay, well, I'll see those answers. Thank you so much for that. My second question is, what's the status of the presidential search? There is a presidential search, right? Okay, what's the status of that?
I don't know if there's actually a search. There was a committee that was formed by the Board of Trustees to determine whether they are going to do a search. So that's my understanding. We have a trustee here, Trustee Roland Pickens, who is also an alum.
Thank you, former Student President Francois. So, Chair of the Board, Michael Jones, has set up a subcommittee of the Chair of the Board to actually make a recommendation to the full Board in terms what will the search process be and what will the process, how it will be communicated. That I am not on that subcommittee. I'm just a regular board member, but that subcommittee is supposed to come back to the Board of Trustees with a recommendation in terms of how we move forward with the search for the president. We met in October. He said his goal was to have that group come back to us in late November, December with a recommendation on how we move forward with selecting the next president.
So it's been months, and we haven't even decided on a president? Yeah, that's what you're saying?
Yes. Okay. Oh, Tiffany. I was looking for.
Good morning, Tiffany Moore, President of the Alumni Association. I also serve as the Alumni Liaison to the Board of Trustees, and I was appointed by Chair Jones to be on that subcommittee, and what Mr. Pickens is saying is actually correct. We are doing that analysis now. We are meeting with student leadership. They're also meeting with the staff council, and we're also meeting with faculty, and we'll take all that information, and then we'll collate all of that, and then as a committee, we will make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees about how to proceed. So that process is ongoing. So just wanted to reiterate that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Moss. We're all members of the Student Government Association. I don't have anything negative to say. I want to say, first of all, thank you, Dr. Guillory. These plans look great. I really hope, as a Dillard student, that they all come into fruition. That would be amazing. That's something to look forward to. I did come in a little late, so I want to know, is there any plans to do anything to cook renovations-wise? Because many of you have been a part of the concert choir, or you've heard our amazing choir. You know, we tour. We're pretty renowned across the country, across the world.
Yes.
I am a member of the concert choir, so is Praise.
So is Abby.
Abby is a part of the concert choir. She was our president last year. Our director, Dr. Davenport, has been here over 40 years. He's almost 80 years old, and it bothers me that we have to watch him climb stairs for rehearsal every week constantly to rehearse with us, but he's so happy to do convocation, anything, commencement. He's so happy. I don't know if you know it, but he's planning on dedicating our Christmas concert to you, Dr. Guillory, which is amazing. We love Dr. Davenport. I want to know, is there any way that the elevator could be fixed and cooked? Because I don't like to see him, have to go up those stairs. And I know sometimes he just isn't even feeling well enough to come to rehearsal. So it would be amazing if that wouldn't have to happen. Thank God he's able to do it, but it would be amazing if something could be done about that.
Honestly, this was the first I'm hearing about the elevator not working in Cook.
For a long time.
So there are a lot of issues with our physical plant and our infrastructure on campus. Absolutely. And I recognize the treasure we have in our choir, in Dr. Davenport. So we will definitely just take that under advisement and understand where that can come in our priorities. I was not even aware that the elevator wasn't working. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I do want to make sure everyone hears me correctly. I do not feel attacked at all. Okay? I don't feel attacked. I really actually love and appreciate your passion. This is why I work at HBCUs, because the alumni are so passionate about these institutions. I want that passion to be transferred into pride and passion for what we are, not for what it used to be. Okay? And I'm committed to that. I'm not a perfect leader. I'll be the first person to own that. I am not a perfect leader. I don't have all the answers. I am doing the best that I know how to do. But this is not my first rodeo. Might be my fourth. All right? 8 institutions, 7 HBCUs. I've seen how things can be. No other place I've been downloaded applications and entered data manually. No place. All right? And so I'm not trying to replicate any other institution that I've been at Dillard. Dillard is such a unique and distinctive institution that, again, I am so proud to have been called to serve as the leader, even if it is just for this short tenure. I am dedicated and committed to doing the best that I can do in this situation. And realistically, this is going to take some time. It is going to take some time to rebuild trust with you all, to rebuild trust with the workforce, with the people who are coming to work here. They are still afraid that they might lose their jobs because they know we had a shortfall in enrollment. We are counting on the EPA money. We are hoping that we can expedite that process to draw those funds down. We're hoping we can do that. So please, you have every right to feel however you feel. You have every right. I will never tell somebody they don't have a right to feel a certain way. I am happy to engage with you. Please hold me and the administration accountable. Hold us accountable. This is why I'm showing you everything. I'm telling you everything. Everything I can tell you. So I'm fine. I am fine with this conversation. I am fine with whatever you have to bring. I am fine with whatever you want to know. That goes for the alumni, that goes for the students, that goes for our employees. I am fine with it. Challenge me. Hold us accountable. That's what we're here for. This is leadership. This is what it is. I'm clear about that. So I don't feel attacked, not at all. I love you too, brother. I love all of y'all for even being here, for even making the effort to come to your homecoming, to spend your money, to come on this campus. I appreciate that. I don't take that for granted, you know, and I want more people here next year, okay? So let me be very clear. I'm okay with it. All the questions, all the challenges, all the emotions, all the passion, please don't lose it, because that's what we're about. And I want to be held accountable. Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is
morning.
Shanae McFarland, and I am a proud graduate of the class of 2006. A couple of really quick things. So let me just make sure, are we still in the president's address portion of the meeting, or are we in the DUNA portion of the meeting?
This is still the president's address.
All right,
Sorry.
understood, because I have some questions for DUNA. If there is anybody here that can answer my questions, maybe it might be later, but I do need to see somebody that represents DUNA before we leave. Madam President, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Also, I want to shout out the young people who are here, all of the current students. You guys have represented yourselves very well, and I just want to shout you all out because you have done a fantastic job of advocating for yourselves. So as an alum, like I said, I graduated in the class of 06. This is not something that we did a whole lot of. So those of us who are alums, we know that there wasn't always a forum for us to be able to speak up and, you know, tell our grievances and things like that. So that's something that I appreciate about Gen Z, that you guys are very, very firm in advocating for yourselves. And thank you, Madam President, for being willing to advocate for, or to hear them, to hear their voices and to hear their concerns. So hopefully there is something that can take place after this meeting where your office has some type, because the truth be told, I'm sure your email box is already full enough. And so hopefully there's some type of system that we can put in place where students can request meetings with you, something other than you having to field all those emails and, you know, try to put it on your calendar and stuff yourself. Hopefully there's somebody in place that can stand as an advocate between you two to be able to help that happen. I'm a high school teacher, and I spend a lot of my time trying to recruit people to come to Dillard. And I've sent some people to Dillard, and one of the major concerns that they've had once they've gotten here have been things along the lines of our infrastructure, like the Wi-Fi not always working, and things along the lines of facilities. So I know that facilities has kind of been a reoccurring theme during this morning's meeting, and I really hope that you and the Finance Committee and the board and everyone else really takes heed to these concerns about facilities. I had a young lady leave after her first year here at Dillard because her concern was the mold, and she was always sick, she always had a runny nose, she always had a cough, and her parents decided that it was no longer safe for her to come to New Orleans. So I live in Memphis, Tennessee. So, you know, the air is a little bit different, but, you know, I told them the humidity is good for you, baby. It's gonna help your skin look good. You know, I really try to pitch Dillard as a great place to be. But when they get here, like as I've gotten here and I see things like, you know, the mold that's in this room that we're currently in, and students saying that, you know, it's in their AC vents, in their dorm rooms, even in the halls where we've recently renovated, it's a concern. And so I just really hope that the university is hearing our plea when it comes to facilities and when it comes to the actual infrastructure of Dillard, you know, things that we just can't function without here in the 21st century, like Wi-Fi. I really want to make sure that concern is heard, because I can't keep, you know, in good faith, sending students down here. I've even dropped off a couple kids. Like I brought them down, loaded them up myself because their parents couldn't. But I can't keep bringing children down here if they're not gonna feel like they're gonna be safe due to the air quality and things like that in our building. Also, I think it is a fantastic idea to start using our facilities to be able to rent them out, to be able to gain money for the university. At the University of Memphis, where I worked for a little while, they rent their facilities to summer programs, you know, so they have students that come all throughout the year. They rent their dormitories and everything else. Is a great source of funding for them. But again, it goes back to facilities and making sure that everything is maintained, because we can't be bringing people down here if we're going to be having them stay in their rooms where the air conditioner, you know, is growing mold over the summer. So I just really, I like the direction that we're trying to take the university in. I just want to make sure that we take care of our house before we, you know, try to start bringing people in, because some of these issues have been issues for a while. And so we just want to make sure that some of this stuff really kind of starts to get addressed before we continue to try to bring people in. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for that comment. And I have to, there's not a day that goes by that we don't talk about facilities. not a day. It has been a top priority. One of your illustrious alumni, Mr. Marion Bracey, is here. He can talk to you all day long about our facilities. It's a challenge. I can't sugarcoat it. I mean, I hear you. I know. I've talked to students. I've talked to parents. I've seen the pictures. It's real, and it's inexcusable. We have to do something about it, and it's resources, and it's a lot of resources. It's not just a little bit of resources. To really rehabilitate the infrastructure on this campus, millions upon millions of dollars. So we will have to do what we can within our control to make sure our environment is safe and our students understand, you know, like everything you see isn't mold. That's the first thing. You know, everything that you see, things can be cleaner, all right? Things can certainly be cleaner, but the environmental hygienist that we've had on campus has tested air quality within the residence halls and outside. And basically, you're looking at whether the air quality in a dorm, in a residence hall, is worse by a certain number of percentage points than the air quality outside, you know? And there are some spaces that we are concerned about. I'll just put it like that. And we will have to remediate those spaces. But do you understand then the whole question of priorities and limited resources? And the first order of business is the residence halls. And especially as we're bringing a new residence hall online. One of the things I'm hoping to really leverage by being a homegirl is going to the state legislature and to our Congress people and saying, y'all need to pony up some money. Y'all need to give us some money to help fix Dillard. Going to Troy Carter, going to all of them and saying, while we still can, we need resources to fix our infrastructure. I'm a homegirl. Went to St. Mary's. Y'all want me to be successful, right? Okay? We need these resources. Where is the support for Dillard? Because if we don't get it, you're absolutely right. We cannot justify continuing to bring students on campus where we are not confident about the infrastructure. Completely agree with you. Anything else?
Yes.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good morning to everyone. My name is Dr. Sojourner Gibbs, and I graduated from this illustrious institution in I got here in 1999, but I was one of those four-year babies, so I graduated in 2004. But one of those things that I want to just basically say is that I paid very close attention to what was presented, and I want to say thank you to our faculty and our staff who are here or listening, because again, they're working through this process to make sure that tomorrow our institution is here, right? So with that being said, you spoke to a vice president of enrollment management. We are a tuition-driven institution, which means that it's based on the backs of the children who come. When I got here, I didn't get any resources from Dillard, but again, that was a whole nother time frame. And my expectation was that I had to work to get through this place, and which I did. Here, I started with a 1.97 GPA, and I'm here, Dr. Gibbs, with a 3.9 GPA when I completed from Southern University. Mm-hmm. But my point is this: what investments are we putting in our students who may not necessarily meet that mark, that bench that you talked about, where we want to be able to make sure that they can pay that entire 20%? Where are we investing our dollars in the gap between when we get a vice president who can determine where allocate the resources that exist? What's happening for the incoming class? What are we doing to make sure that they show up, that they're present, and that we are reaching beyond what we're used to, which is, I'm from California, you know, and somebody came all the way there to talk to me, to make sure that I came all the way here. Mm-hmm. And throughout that process, there were calls from alumni, there were calls from students, there were calls from staff members the entire time to make sure that I turned in every document that was required. Did I finish my FAFSA? Did I get this done? Did I get that? And it was holding rather, but it was necessary to make sure that I felt cultivated when I stepped on this campus and cultivated when I left. So that is what I'm asking. I'm only giving these examples so you understand this is what we need as we transition to whatever is going forward. But understand there were key moments that made sure that I knew that when I left here, I could do anything as long as I kept trying, because I saw that here. Somebody showed me and pushed me throughout this entire process. And maybe we may not have the staff. Maybe it means bringing alum on campus who can help to cultivate our students. But the fact of the matter is it has to start. Whether it starts at the board level, whether it starts at the presidential level, whether it starts at just people who walk in the building who say, guess what? I got something to say. Let's say it to our students too. We have to be able to tell them where we've come from so they can see where they can go. There are doctors in this room. There are medical doctors in this room. There are people who work at companies in this room. But guess what? They won't know our stories unless we share it. So I say all of this to ask about what are we doing about our students, but also to share that, let you know that everybody doesn't start here to get there. It takes one step to get to the top, and let you know that Dillard was my step. So I have finished my little speech, and I'm going to sit down, but I'm going to ask y'all to please
I actually,
be mindful.
I really do appreciate that comment. And I'll tell you this. So with respect to recruiting in California, we still have recruiters who go to California, and it is a very important market for us, and we want to grow our recruitment efforts in California. I started this conversation talking about what does it mean to be educated now. And you're absolutely right. I do want students to leave Dillard with a belief and an understanding and a confidence that they can do whatever they set their minds to doing. How to get them there is going to look different than it looked for you, okay? Educating students today is very different than it was when you were enrolled at Dillard, when I was enrolled in college. It's very different because they can learn so much right at their fingertips. They can learn so much already through phone and through computers. It's all right there. So we really do have to reimagine, why should they pay us $10,000, $20,000 a year to be here? What will they get here that they can't get at a more affordable institution or at a community college? Okay, we have to make sure that that is very clear. And one of the things I actually want to emphasize too is, remember, I came as a provost. So my sweet space is academics. I mean, I've done pretty much everything in administration, chief administrative officer, chief of staff, those sorts of things. But I actually came here to be the provost because my sweet spot in higher education is taking those discarded students and transforming them. To me, that is what HBCUs have always been about, giving students that opportunity, giving students that chance that other institutions will not give them. Taking students who otherwise would have been destined to go to a community college and saying, no, 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 no. You can come to a four-year institution, and not only can you come to a four-year institution, you can come to a private four-year institution and do very well. That's what I want students to understand. You know, I have really focused throughout my career on taking those students, and again, as alumni, you might not like this, but I want those students who have lower than a 3.0. I want those students who are coming here with a 2.5, a 2.2, who barely got out of high school. And to show them, if you are committed to doing the hard work, this can be a transformational education for you. And we're going to have to go into those markets. We're, just like Ed said, you know, you are seeing more. Georgia State now graduates more African American students than most HBCUs. They are coming after our students. They are recruiting our students because they are more affordable and they have more resources to pump into the amenities that mean so much to our students. The shiny new residence halls, all of the different options and choices for food service. These are the things that, like I said, students go to college for the experience, not the education. One of the things that we actually implemented this summer, because I was like, okay, we might have to, you know, recruit some students who are not as academically prepared, bring them. I have implemented a summer bridge program at 2 institutions now, and we did it at Dillard this summer, that is a reading intensive summer bridge. It basically is a book club on steroids where students read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And it is all based on the autobiography of Malcolm X, which is one of my favorite books. It's one of the top 100 most influential books. And basically, we make the students read that book. We read it with them, we do the vocabulary, we look at the historic moment that the book is covering. Because one of the things, I don't know if y'all know this, students don't read at all. High school does not require students to read books, whole books, cover to cover. I started this program because there's a survey, the National Student Survey, Student Engagement Survey, the NESE, and it asked students, what was the last book you read? None. No books. I was mortified. So one of the things I wanted to be clear about and sure of when I brought a freshman class in, or particularly a freshman class, or students coming into the freshman class that clearly did not necessarily have the academic underpinnings for a college curriculum, I wanted them to read and know this book. Reading it out loud, having it on tape, watching the film, really fully engrossed in it. And it has been, we actually, when I implemented it at the other college, we won the Ruffalo Noel Levitt's Retention Excellence Award for that year because it had such an impact. It created a great sense of belonging. If you have not read that book, you should read it because it is such a story about one man's journey and his evolution through education. You know, Malcolm talks about teaching himself how to read in prison. Our students had no idea of the different dimensions and characteristics of Malcolm X. And I think he is a wonderful figure for us to study, particularly in these times when we're talking about Islam so much and we're talking about our identities as Black people. So that's my space all day long, is that transformational education. But it's got to be deeper now. It has to be, you know, we wanted to be successful in college because we understood that our education, our degree, was what was necessary for social mobility, for economic mobility. Our students don't really believe that anymore. They just really don't, and they're much more entrepreneurial, which I'm fine with, okay? And we need to harness that. They see examples like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and people who are these multi-billionaires who didn't go to college. No, who don't look like them, but that's who they will put up. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're making the critical investment in a vice president for enrollment management. We actually had to ask the board to approve that. It was very difficult to create another cabinet level position when we were cutting positions, but we all recognized it to be a strategic investment. And that's why we're doing it. Yes, ma'am.
It's almost 50 years for me. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I was the past National Alumni Association president. I served 2 terms. That meant I served 2 terms on the Board of Trustees. I also am a past instructor here at the university. I taught here at Dillard for 10 years, well, 11 years. And then I went back in the analytical industry. I retired a year ago. Let me just say that I recruited hundreds of students to Dillard, literally hundreds of students. When I go out into any field, I go to a doctor's appointment or in the hospital for whatever reason, give me a Dillard nurse, please. When I need an attorney, I go to a Dillard attorney. I don't do that other stuff, okay? My judge for my divorce was a Dillard judge, okay? And I mean that. That's what I do. Hundreds of students I recruited. Not only that, I hired Dillard chemists. That's just what I do. And I mean that. So you use your resources. I do have a jab here. There's always a jab somewhere. And I want to make certain you understand this and don't make these mistakes. I was called a week before school started to help recruit students to Dillard. And I assumed they meant for the next year. But they wanted students for this year. I don't know what you think I can do for a week, you know, in 1 week's time. I mean, I probably could have got some last minute people, but that meant that, you know, we were late on our game, that we weren't, you know, professional in what we needed to do. And that wasn't a good look. And I don't operate that way. Okay, and I understood that some of the recruiting people at Dillard were let go. So now you needed me to come and help you in 1 week. That's not how I do this. You know, I didn't think that that represented Dillard well, and I wasn't prepared to do that. Okay, so now if you need me to help recruit for the upcoming year, now's the time. Okay, that's the look Dillard needs to present. That's the Dillard I used, I'm represented. That's the Dillard that I came from, and that's the Dillard we need to put out there. So if you, Madam President, yes, if you need someone to recruit for the university, give me that. I can help with that, okay? But that 1 week thing, I'm sorry, that's not what I do, okay? The look that we need to put out there is a Dillard that's prepared, that's ready, that wants students who want to go out into the world and represent the Dillard University that we all came from, the Dillard University that these students want to represent. Amen?
Amen. All right, and we'll let the student close it out. The last question, because I know y'all got doing the business, right? Right? And I didn't plan on being here for the doing the business, so.
Thank you so much. We've heard talks about bringing in new students and recruitment, but you cannot make new alumni if you don't pour into the current student who are here to retain them until their graduation date. I'm a part of the class of 27. We, right here in this row, are part of the class of 27. You cannot talk about bringing new people here if you don't pour into the people who are already present. And I would love to talk about my fair Dillard, this wonderful 1869 I wear on my chest, but it's hard to do that when the students who are here don't feel heard, where we're stuck, we're living in these poor conditions, where we're constantly sick, the food in Kearney makes us sick all the time, and even then, how can I bring in somebody new and they transfer after the first semester because they are just so unhappy? So when we say, we the students, when we come to things like this to talk about it, I don't want to hear about bringing in new people. I don't want to hear about all these plans that we have for the future. What are we doing right now? What is the plan to fix the current situation right now? I understand as a university, we may not be in the best financial position at the moment. How are we going to get more money to fix the current problem right now. Because as Dillard is looking at it, our transfer rate is increasing because people are unhappy with the services at Dillard, unhappy with their living conditions, unhappy with their overall college experience. And you may talk about PWIs picking up those students and pouring into them more because they have more revenue, but we can pour into our people better than they can. So now it comes to you as a president. I don't mean to be disrespectful if my tone sounds harsh. It comes to you as a president. What is your plan, your personal plan, to make yourself known to students, as well as to fix the grievances we have brought to you time and time again? Because this is not the first time we've said this, and it's not going to be the last. And if you want to keep people at Dillard to become alumni who do pour back into our university, you have to listen to us. Thank you.
I have every intention of listening to students, and the first step will be figuring out that date for the rescheduled town hall that was supposed to be happening this week. You're absolutely right, but we have to do both. I mean, we have to pour into you. We have to be responsive to your concerns. No question about that. But we also have to look at our recruitment. Both things have to happen because the revenue to address your problems will come from students, will come from new students that we recruit. So we have to do both at the same time. We must. But your conversation will take place hopefully next week, because I did not cancel this week's town hall. And absolutely, let's have the conversation. I want students, just like I want everybody, I want you all to feel proud and comfortable with where we are, with the leadership that you have, and I am committed to that. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your questions and your passion, and I hope to see you all again soon. All right, thank you all so much.